All right, let's get started. Today's episode is about all the things that we've missed in the first couple of months. There's been so many insights that we've had, and we've finished the podcast and we've wished we had said something that we haven't. But we've also got a real cool special feature on this episode where we've got a heap of viewer questions. And we want to, instead of having athlete insights, we're going to have some insights from our listeners. And a lot of it is in the form of questions to us and how we feel about it. And we're also obviously giving away a free one of these swanky tops
That was my elephant in the room. Let's address the elephant in the room. We got some new tops.
New tops, yeah.
And I guess I thought of a really cool thing about this, but we didn't want to put a massive just of our logo on the front. And I think the Better by Next Week really represents
we do want to put a big massive logo, so we put a big massive logo.
As in our just us, our characters on our podcast logo. And what it kind of represents is it's more about the community and all of us getting better by next week, and not us in this podcast, because we're about getting better. And
and so there's gonna there's gonna be a few of these tops floating around in the community. We're gonna have some that we're gonna be giving away in the coming weeks.
We showed them off the parkrun this morning.
Yeah, we showed them off at parkrun, which is awesome. So I guess we'll get started. And one of the things that I'm spewing I didn't mention when we did the strength episode, I wanted to mention that I know we spoke a little bit about your hill repeats session, but I don't think we emphasized enough that you did a hill repeat session where you took my crown 5 times in one actual session. And I remember like pushing so hard up that hill on my effort, and then you ended up taking the best time for that 1 kilometer hill repeat, but 5 times in a row, which was incredible. But the thing that I wanted to emphasize in terms of strength work, was the fact that you hadn't done any hill work for 2 months. And then you just turned up, and then because you'd been doing a heap of strength work, and you end up just smashing that session.
It is funny because the whole priority around that training block was speed work. And it's where on my whole training was I able to pull out that performance, and it probably was the strength work, and I think people take for granted what it can do for you, especially if you're not training as much hills. So, and I'd love to see what it's like when someone combines hill work and strength training to see how great they are on hills.
Yeah, for sure. So what was your kind of
so
insight?
I had a little bit of an insight, and I think I really wanted to talk more about delayed gratification, and this is more around the belief and everything, and just believing that if you keep doing the work, keep showing up so I'll explain what delayed gratification is. Just keep doing the work without knowing or getting a result straight away, but you're still persistent and keep doing it. And I think a lot of people really struggle at the start, obviously, and this links into consistency and something that we value a lot. And for runners, I think it's really important to develop that delayed gratification and almost set a goal in the future where you know it's there, but in training you keep reminding yourself back to that goal specifically, and having that delayed gratification is let's do the work, let's keep pushing, let's keep moving, and knowing that you're not going to get the result straight away, because
trusting the process.
Yeah, well, even Usain Bolt said it was something along the lines of he had trained 9 years to run 10 seconds, and people complain when they don't get results in a couple months.
Yeah, and but the thing is that often it only takes a couple months to see those results.
Well, even when I first started out running, you're going to see huge gains, and I did. And now it takes months to get 1 second off your 5K PB.
Yeah, but that's probably a good thing for beginners as well. Often what happens is that you'll get a lot of you will get gains at the start as well, but you can't, once you get past those first initial gains, you need to try and look at it and trust the process that you will get faster.
It's all about trusting that process.
I remember when I did my first 5K, and it was 40 minutes, and then within a couple months I was running in 25 minutes. and it's like, oh man, I got such fun. But then I remember doing
Like, oh, I'm going to run 15 minutes.
in
a month's time.
Yeah, no worries, I'm going to be at the Olympics soon. But yeah, so it's important to trust the process. But you're right, that delayed gratification is so rewarding at the peak end of it. And I think I read into something, and it spoke about teaching kids delayed gratification, that it's really important because just for their development and as they grow and age, if they've got that inbuilt in them, then they'll be super successful.
Even that experiment, I watched it recently at school in one of my classes, and it's about giving a kid just maybe a small chocolate, right? But and some experiments do it differently. Some will show them the prize if they wait for 10 minutes in a room by themselves and not touching the little chocolate, or some have no idea of the prize afterwards that they can get. So some will be told to just wait 10 minutes without being shown a prize, but some will see a prize. And it's funny how you can see just the cogs turning in a kid's brain. It's like, oh, should I eat this little chocolate or should I not?
And more often than not, you see it in those experiments. They just take the chocolate.
Yeah.
Because they can't wait.
But so often, on the one occasion, one kid will wait and then we'll get the reward at the end.
Yeah.
So that's another way. That's a cool experiment.
The delayed gratification is a big one. Another thing that I felt like I missed an opportunity to talk about in regards to strength work was strength work for older runners and just for older people in general, and how important it is.
I guess, because we did talk a lot about the younger and more power and everything.
Yeah, that's right. And we spoke about, how to introduce strength work and stuff like that, but the importance of strength work for older runners.
To get longevity and everything.
Yeah, that's right. So what you'll find is at a certain point in your 40s, 50s, and maybe 60s, you start to decline. And it's really important that you build a strong body for as long as you can into that, into those 50s and 60s, so that you can go further. But when it starts to decline, you're actually potentially declining from a level of a, say, 30-year-old or 25-year-old. And, as you age, you'll end up having a lot more longevity, like you said. So it's really important to focus in on that strength, because a young body like yours, you can probably go up and down a bit. But as you age, almost like when you lose it, it's very, very difficult to get it back.
Yes, well, it's about maintaining that consistency and the strength training, and it's even doing just something small with strength training. It doesn't have to be some huge deadlift where you're lifting 100 kilos or whatever. It's the 20 squats per morning, 20 squats per night.
Yeah,
so it's nothing.
And we had a heap of really good feedback with that as well. We had a lot of people reach out to us and say, I'm just glad I'm just doing this, and I can say that I'm doing strength work. And and that's right, you are doing strength work, and that extra little bit counts.
A funny thing that we didn't have on our Percenters episode was meditation. And I don't know if you did anything about it, but I certainly did, because I wanted to see what the benefits of it was. And so I've been doing a little bit of meditation just before bed and right as I wake up. And I actually really look forward to it when I wake up, because it's, in a way, I'm like, I'm getting extra sleep and I'm listening to music and clearing my mind. Anyway, that's not the point. My school SAC was all about, or an exam was all about testing this method of meditation, so I didn't have as much sedentary behavior. And what had happened was, I find that, and what I usually do, I put music in and just listen, and I don't describe. I mean, on the Percenters episode, I said how I would do it, and I found that it really is just peaceful.
Yeah,
it's so peaceful.
It's almost still. There's like a stillness that you enjoy. And
I even find that my whole body is just relaxed. And what I do is I tuck myself in. I'm just there like a mummy, just lying, and then just having this music. And then, it's a 15-minute timer, and I'll just listen to everything and not describe the noises or whatever. And it'll just go by so quickly. And we often talked about it. And it's, if you can even just get to yourself to a point where you have nothing in your head and all you're doing is listening for 1 minute, then that's 1 minute where you're actually experiencing that meditation. And my goal is to be able to get that minute to be longer, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes.
With meditation, for me, it's catching yourself between two thoughts. That's the stillness that you're looking for, because there's one thought's happening and you're thinking about it, and then the next one's about to arrive. But I find for me, meditation is catching myself between those two thoughts of that stillness. And it's amazing. And often I could meditate for 10, 15 minutes and I could not do it once. And then the timer goes off and I open my eyes and all this light comes in. I feel amazing. And it does feel great. Yeah. But it's when I actually lose myself and I don't even realize that I'm meditating. And that's
that point. That's that. And I actually when I'm meditating, I catch myself thinking of a thought. I'm like, no. Don't do that. Music.
Yeah, they call it the monkey mind, how it just jumps around and you're trying to... Yeah, that's cool. That's a good one. So another one where one thing that I missed that I kind of wanted to mention was how, as humans, we try and do the minimum amount of work for the same outcome. So, for instance, say we've got a goal and we build. So we're looking at for instance, I want to run this 5K or 10K. So you'll put a plan in place and you'll do all these things. And the first time you do it, you'll do all these things. But you know that, remember we've spoken about, how many times we've spoken about, you throw the whole kitchen sink at something. You don't know what it was, but it was one of those things. Yeah. And then that made you perform well or do really what you wanted and get your, what you expected to happen. Well, it's kind of like you get yourself to a point where you start stripping things back, and you might strip one. So you might be doing 10 of those things, and you might start stripping back, and then you do 9, and then 8, and you're still getting the same outcome because you're probably stripping back the right things. But as humans, we try and strip back as much as we can so that we don't do it. So you might not do the long run, or you might not do the stretching, or you might, and you're thinking, I've got so much more spare time to do all this other stuff. And then next minute, you find yourself not achieving what you want to achieve. And it's like, why am I not achieving these things? And that's where it's important to actually, when you're achieving the things that you want to achieve, write down what you're doing. Write down, I'm meditating. Because this goes for anything in life, I suppose. If you're kind of feeling a bit flat, then maybe you have a look at a time when you weren't feeling flat. What were you doing? I was drinking plenty of water that day. I was meditating. I was reading. I was journaling. I was exercising and all those things. And then ask yourself, what of those things am I still doing? And if you find yourself you're only doing 2 out of the 10 things, then there's your problem. And that's the best way to problem solve how you might not feel if you don't feel well about something.
Well, I have a lot to add from that because I'm just thinking of ideas. I'm like, oh gosh, I'm going to do this one, and then I'm going to say this one.
I better stop talking.
But the first one I want to say is how that concept can apply to other things, and especially for us in this podcast. Like we'll look back at the views on a specific episode, and why is it like that? Why is our next episode not getting as much? And that's how we'll learn to adjust and suit the audience's needs or whatever.
Yep.
And another thing that you mentioned in there was stretching, and I'll lead into my point of preventative maintenance after this because I think that needs to be covered. And I often find that when I'm really in heavy training, I don't stretch at all, and I probably should. And then when it hits me, when I get a little bit of a niggle, when I get a little bit of an injury, I'm like, oh crap. And then I start doing all the things I should be doing, the stretching, the more ankle strength training, the strength training in general. I know that now I'm probably lacking off a little bit, but it's almost like, I don't know why when I get to that point, it just hits me. Now all of a sudden I do these things to fix it up. And I fix it up within maybe a month or so, but why not do it the whole time so that stuff never happens, that injury never happens? And it's hard. Trust me, it's really hard. And I think, like you said, writing your stuff on a board really keeps yourself accountable for these preventative maintenance things.
Because you've got your only person you got to blame for not, getting the results that you're getting or feeling a bit crappy is yourself. If you have a look on there and it says nutrition, focus on your nutrition, and you have a look, and in your other hand you got an ice cream or a 1 kilo block of chocolate, you got to say to yourself, okay, maybe it's related a little bit.
And it's almost like I like to make my previous self proud in a way, and those notes are your previous self, your previous thoughts, and I look back and I actually feel bad for letting that my past self down.
Yeah.
And again,
Because
it
you
comes
do.
back.
We all slip a little bit
Yeah.
at times.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. There's nothing wrong with treating yourself. There's nothing. It's the same as, you have a really hard hill session, or you go to park run and you do a really good park run, and then the next day, don't flog yourself again. Like, take it easy. Like, enjoy the body. Give your body a bit of a break. And it's the same with whether it be nutrition or any of those things. It's just when those things become the new habit is when you start to slip, because it's all about, being better and feeling better. And if you're wondering why you're not feeling better, they're some of the things that you need to look at.
Well, from that, it's actually one of the biggest bits you give advice to new runners. And it's, if you always treat yourself, then you don't know what's bad. But the same vice versa. If you're always hard on yourself and you don't know what like a treat is, then it's always going to be hard.
Yeah,
and
it's like a spectrum.
you won't know that balance of hard and easy. And the same goes. And your advice is get a feel of different paces when you're running, because if it's always hard, then it's going to suck and you're not going to like running. And that's why a lot of people come to me at school and I'll say, I went for an easy 14K. And it was easy, right? But they look at the distance and go, oh, that's hard. But they don't have that understanding of the pace. But whereas I do, because I could flog a 14K at 350 pace, but I could also do one at 530. And there's a complete difference there, which is why I say it's easy and they might say it's hard because...
Yeah, well, and that's what I often say to people, because when they first start out, that they'll say, "Hey Tim, how can I start out running?" And I say to them, "You can run walk. Yeah. Run walk is the best option because and that's when you get that feeling of easy walk, hard run, and then what'll end up happening is it'll be easy jog, hard run. So and then as you kind of build and you'll keep moving through it."
Where were we? I feel like was
I think it was my turn for my next insight.
Your next, okay.
So one big thing that I find, and I'm spewing that I hadn't mentioned it earlier, but when you have fear and doubt of what you're about to try and achieve, and you say to yourself, "I can't do it. This is going to be too hard," or anything like that. How am I going to survive this? Ask yourself, when is the last time you did something and you actually didn't finish it or didn't survive it? Because what you'll find is that the majority of the time, nothing went wrong. You always manage to get past whatever it is that you're trying to get past, and you work your way through it. There's nothing that you have not survived till this point. So a little bit of reflection on looking back and saying to yourself, "Hey, you know what? When I attempted that thing last time, I succeeded. I succeeded. So this next challenge that you're about to attempt, guess what? You're going to succeed. Yeah. You will survive it. So but trust the process and believe in yourself enough to say, I have survived everything till this point. There is absolutely no reason why I can't survive this as well."
Well, even when you're being sick, right? And I noticed that at night you're really worried. It's like, oh, I'm going to wake up tomorrow and I'm going to feel awful. And this is where it leads into my next thing. And I do after this, you want to go on to our questions? Or?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So
I've got a couple other things.
Okay. Well, yeah. So all right. Well, my next insight was more about the smile, and I actually think that it's really overlooked in a way. And I wanted to find it because it actually means a lot to me, just a smile. And I love Brad Hall's "Smiles Get the Miles" because it's so true. But it's something so simple that you can put on can make you feel so great. And I relate this back to a backyard ultra because a lot of people go through ups and downs in it. And when you're in the downs, right? Why, if you were to choose to be in a mood, why not make that mood a good mood?
Yeah.
It's funny, and even in life, it's almost like
it's a choice.
Yeah, it is a choice. And I liked Vin. I don't know, it's a gang.
Vin Jiang, yeah.
Jiang, yeah. And how his mum had told him when he was bullied in school about, if I gave you a gift, right, you can choose to take that gift or not. But if you choose not to take that gift, it's not your gift. And he was relating that to the energy that these bullies were giving him. So they would mistreat him, bully him, and that negative energy, they're choosing to give it to him, right?
But he doesn't have to
But
accept
he
it.
doesn't have to accept that.
Yeah.
And that relates back to that putting this smile on your face, because that's different energy that you're getting.
Yeah, oh, that's right. I like that one. I really like the smile one.
Yeah.
And how often do you find, like, when we're at a park run or any event, you're running past someone, and if you're just looking at each other, don't smile, don't say anything.
It's awkward in a way.
Well, one, it's awkward, but two, there's kind of no exchange of positive energy. Whereas
Yeah.
if you both, even if one person smiles, I guarantee the other one will smile, and it's contagious.
Well, today, because we know so many people at park run, every single person's good job, well done. I feel bad saying the same thing to different people, and I'm always on the spot trying to think of, you're crushing it, keep it up. And,
That's cool.
And you always try to have an exchange and smiles, and it just that positive energy.
The smiling really does matter, and especially deep into races as well. I'll go into a couple more insights that I kind of missed. For me, during our 1%ers one, I actually didn't really mention vagal breathing. Vagal breathing for me is a big one, and it's like what it does. It reduces stress, anxiety, and it's a simple a nose breath in. So on 6, so you go, and then out on 8 count.
That was a beautiful demonstration.
Yeah, so 9.
I feel like everyone got that sense of relaxation.
So you take a deep breath in through your nose on a 6 count, and then 8 count out, and you can do that for however long you please. And what it does, it stimulates the vagal nerve, and that stimulation reduces stress, anxiety, reduces your heart rate and your blood pressure as well. So similar to meditation, it puts you in a more relaxed state. And I used to do it a lot when I would be on my spiky ball rolling around. So I would multitask essentially. I'd be on there and I'd be doing the vagal breath in and out, have my eyes closed, and I was just in such a relaxed state. And it's a good time to use it, especially when you're in pain. If you're trying to get a knot out of something, normally what people say is breathe through it. So it's a good opportunity to do some vagal breathing and to breathe through that kind of pain that you're in. But it also, I absolutely love it. If you can find, even 5 minutes in the day, just go breathe in on 6 through your nose and breathe out through your mouth on 8.
The first time you brought this method up to me, I
had the 4 of us. We were all in the lounge room. I'm like, you wouldn't believe this vagal breathing. I've got to show you what it is. All 4 of us were in the lounge room breathing.
I remember,
which we do everyone.
I remember actually trying it, and because as a little kid I had no patience, and you said that you almost got to this feeling in the back of your throat.
Yeah.
You're like, what is it? Like,
it's like almost felt like I almost had an extra 20% breath.
Okay.
So really get a good deep breath in, and then
opens
out.
your lungs.
Yeah, and then out, and then in and out, and in and out. And what you'll find is, on occasions, I reckon almost every 5th to 8th breath, I'd breathe in and I'd almost get this extra boost of breath, and I'm like, oh, geez, that felt good. Well, I don't know whether that's technically stimulating the vagal nerve, but I for one
could be a side effect in a positive way.
Oh yeah, I felt amazing. Like I just felt like I opened up my chest a bit more.
I've never obviously experienced it, because I might actually try to do it later on tonight. But I remember going out on the farm doing some jobs, and I come back inside and I'm just, why is it so dark in here? And I see you and Mum on the couch just going, I'm like, what's going on in here? This ritual stuff. I'm like, what is going on?
I was trying to teach your mum how to vagal
possessed by demons or something.
Oh, you're a donkey. You're a donkey. Hey, what do you reckon? We go into some questions.
Yeah,
all right. So I'll go first. So I had a question. We won't name people's names. Oh, so what we're going to do is that we've put together about 10 questions out of all the questions that we got. So we put together 10 to fit it into the show. And we drew out of all the questions, we drew a person's name out of the hat, and their question will be the one that we do last, and that's the person that wins one of these awesome tops.
Yes.
So we had a little competition on Insta and Facebook. People send in a ton of questions, and so the last question that we read out is the person that wins the top. So if you ask some questions,
keep listening.
I'm sorry if yours comes out first or second, but yeah, keep listening, and hopefully yours is the one that comes out last. So, all right. So, first question that I had. There's a little bit of a background, and then there's an actual question. So, the euphoria that comes on race day is a combination of all the training, finally rolling into race day. But equally for me is a sense of community that comes on the day, being around like-minded people that encourage and lift you. An example of this for me, I had a bad tumble at my last event right at the end. Where everyone was pushing to the finish line, and yet they still stopped to make sure I was okay. This really did contribute to me dusting myself off and finishing. That's an amazing story, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Do you both have a standout, memorable moment of community selflessness at an event? I'll go first.
Yeah, I think you've got a lot of it.
So I had an experience at Big's Backyard Ultra, and this wasn't so much what happened to me. It was a cool story that I want to share of something that I did, which was just instinctive. But I remember going out on loop, I think it was 55, and I came across a runner who at the start of loop, I had to go to the toilet, and then I come across a runner who was the last person. I was last, and they were second last, and they were sitting there on the rock. And this was at like loop 55. And they were sitting there on the rock, and they'd quit on themselves. The guy's name was GV, who was a Filipino runner. This is the world champs, by the way, as well. All right, so I've ran past him.
It shows how world champs do.
Yeah. So, and I said to GV, I'm like, come on, GV, you've got this. And he goes, we don't have enough time. We won't get back in time. We won't get back in time. We just don't have enough time. And I looked at my watch and I said to him, I go, we'll get back in time. I'll get you back in time. And then, so we started running, and he was kind of hung on my back, and then for about 20 or 30 minutes, he kept on saying, oh, what time, how much time? I go, we'll get back. And he's like, no, I don't think. And then he started walking, and I'm like, come on, Jeffy, we've got this. Anyway, we ended up finishing that loop. It was in like 57 or 58 minutes. And yeah, so we got through. He was going to quit that lap, right? That was at 55. I ended up finishing that event on 60 hours. And GV ended up running for 81 hours. So he ran.
How cool for that.
He ran for another 25 hours after that. And I was so chuffed. Like, I remember reaching out to him and saying, do you remember when I was running past you? You were sitting on that rock, you'd quit. And all it is that one little moment of, hey, you can do this.
Or belief in others.
Belief in others. And I mean, I wish I had believed in myself a little bit more that day too.
I was watching on the last one. I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah.
He looks perfect.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does take a mental toll on you. For me, I have a similar experience, and I actually genuinely like helping other people out in the backyard ultra because it makes me feel good. And I remember I was in a pack of people, and a lot of them were struggling, and it was about the hour, maybe hour 25 at Shepparton Backyard Ultra, and a lot of them had said 5 hours prior that they wanted to quit, and they were going to quit, and they were hurting. And I remember turning around and saying, you said that exact same thing to me 5 hours ago, and what are you? You're still here.
Yeah.
So what does that say? That you're capable of so much more than you think. Yeah. And I think that's incredible, and the limitations that we set on ourselves should not be.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Be there.
That's a really cool way of looking at it. So you go next. What question did you have?
So my question, a listener that sent through a question was about how are we able to recover on back-to-back days, and I think especially for your 200-kilometer weeks, I would like to get that insight.
Yeah, so I think with recovering back-to-back, it's a combination of things. It's a combination of diet, making sure that you've given plenty of protein on board and things like that, making sure that you're getting a heap of sleep, because often like all your recovery is done during sleep. So yeah, sleep, and it's also experience. I think that's what people need to take into account, that when they're not backing up day after day and unable to get out, it does often come down to experience and your endurance that you're able, how much you can take. So my recommendation for people that are struggling to back up day after day, give yourself a bit some more rest days, and so that you can recover in time, because there is no reason why you should be like, there's one thing to being tired and a little fatigued, but to be at a point where you can't actually do the sessions.
But you're burnt out.
You're burnt out. That's right.
So, and also for me, and I'll go into my answer, is that it actually helps doing two different activities, giving yourself a break on those rest days, but technically you're not actually resting. So for me, I actually don't have a full rest day unless I really need it, and I just don't find the time to do an activity. But I'll run on Monday, Tuesday, then I'll do my heat training on the bike on Wednesday, so that's the different activity. Then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I'll run, and then on Sunday, I'll do a long ride, and that's usually maybe right now or in the past couple of weeks, that's what I've been doing just consistently. But I find that it really helps break up, and a lot of it is to do mentally and not just physically, and that's how it helps me to back it
that's
up.
really cool. I like that approach.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the next kind of question that we had from one of our listeners was, how do we have the relationship that we have? And it's a really tricky one to answer, but to give a bit of context to it, they made mention to an event that we both participated at Miriam Werner, and people saying, oh, I wish I had that kind of relationship with my kids.
Yeah.
And I guess I'll come from a parenting perspective, what I do, I suppose, and you can come from a kid's perspective, because obviously the relationships from both sides. But for me, I know I don't always get it right, but I think it's really important to let you know that I don't get it right, and because we're all human and we all try our best. There's often times where you frustrate me, or you might not do what I ask you to do, and you won't take out the rubbish. We'll have an argument about the rubbish.
I'll give a big example of what happened this week, right?
Go on, give the example.
On top of Dad being sick, he's not getting out for his runs. He's probably a little bit upset that he's not getting out for his runs. So what I do, I put my clothes in a sink in the laundry.
And you just soak them.
And I soak them because they stink after my heat training. And we're getting ready to go for a cool run out on trails, and I left the tap on for, I don't even know, 15, 20 minutes. And then Mum was sitting in the lounge room and just starts seeing water coming out of the door. And mind you, it's maybe like 2 meters at least from the laundry to the lounge room.
Yeah.
And it was flooded everywhere. And
yeah, so you flooded the hallway.
Architraves came off, floorboards.
I had to take up all the architraves and floorboards and everything else.
And he was pissed at me. And I could completely understand that. But like the relationship that we have, it is like a lot of other things. There are ups and there's downs, and the performance at Miriam Warren was definitely one of those ups. And I don't want people to get this idea around us that that's what we're always like, because we're not.
We're not. And I think what it comes down to is that at the core of our relationship, it's really strong. We're really passionate about running, but there's also, with me, there's a side of it that I have to be a parent.
Yeah.
And like, I want to be your mate, but I've also got to be a parent. Yeah. So I think I try and listen a lot to what you say and how you feel, and we're always kind of giving each other advice in both directions, whether it be me giving you some life advice or you giving me some advice about things like that. I might be set in my old ways, and you might say to me, Dad, your grumpiness is not actually helping the situation. Yeah. And I'll look at it and say, yeah, you're right. It's actually not helping the situation
I've actually
whatsoever.
even felt that as our relationship is built, we're almost more comfortable with talking to each other badly, even though that's not right. Like, we'll have a running joke in the family where we call each other donkey dicks.
Yeah.
It's just funny. The other day we were taking photos for our Better by Next Week tops to send them to a couple of your mates, and we just looked like donkey dicks, and we're just not models. I nearly wet myself laughing. Like,
yeah, I know. You were wetting yourself laughing, and I was getting angrier and angrier. I'm like, just take a good photo.
But you were laughing at the same time. Yeah. So I guess, there's ups and downs with it, and we're not always perfect.
Yeah, I think as a parent, don't, like me. I'm not giving parenting advice, but what I do, I try. I try to be relatable. I try to reflect on when I get upset or get frustrated about something. I try and understand why that bothers me. And then I make sure that you know that you're never to blame for any of the things that are going on, because often, life stresses, they take a toll and you can be snappy, and everyone does it.
Yeah, I think also us coming in here, this is also another reflection of how we are when we're upset at each other, because again, it relates back to energy. And when we come in here, we want to be upbeat, everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, sometimes, some of the times we're just not feeling it.
Yeah.
And we just don't do it.
Yeah, we come in here and we look at each other and it's like, not today.
It's not happening.
Yeah.
And yeah, that energy and just understanding each other from that energy perspective. Like, I'll come in and I might just have a migraine. I'm like, yeah, no, Dad, it's not happening. Or you might come in and you're just too tired.
Yeah.
And just understanding that that's okay, and we can always do it the next day.
Yeah, that's right. So that's a real basic kind of
Basic, but we
basic
waffled on a little bit
how
there.
our relationship works, I guess.
Okay.
What did you have?
Next question was about, so a listener asked, what the worst / funniest reason why you've DNF'd in a race?
Okay, so the funniest reason I DNF'd, I actually, it's not so much why I DNF'd, this is what happened afterwards. So at Dead Cow Gully a couple of years ago, I DNF'd because I had a massive issue with the front of my shin. We thought it was a stress fracture, and I DNF'd.
Doctor, if we haven't,
one
if
of the-
no
one of
one's
the-
seen the dramatic documentary, it was
it was pretty funny.
Watch
Anyway,
it.
the doc on there said that I'd had a stress fracture. But so I'd come back and they sat me down and I was like, okay, that's the DNF, that's fine. And then next minute, I said to them, I need to go to the toilet. So my mate Joel and my wife Rachel picked me up, and as soon as they've picked me up, my blood pressure has just dropped and I've just passed out.
Well, you were pale as...
I was pale
very
as,
pale.
but that was the funny thing. It looked like I'd ran until I'd passed out, and our little promo has that little bit of footage. But realistically, I just got up too quick.
It's even like the ambulance say, "Oh, it's better than meth or weed or whatever."
Yeah, that was funny when.
Well, for me, actually, I haven't had too many funny or really bad reasons why I've DNF, but it was the same event, the Cow Gully, that we were doing, and it was funny because I like to say I DNF because of a tummy issue. Like, just a little tummy issue. I was sloshing in the guts, and it got to a point where you could hear it, and it was that I hadn't learnt when I was blowing on the flask and sucking up all the bloody air, and that just slosh, and that's why I ended up probably DNFing at that race, and that was a contributing factor to why I DNF'd. So not as interesting as your passing out story.
Well, yeah, not as dramatic as me.
I'm sure I'll have many.
You'll have plenty more in your career. So next question I had was, what is your caffeine strategy for your backyard ultras, and do you avoid it completely until the first night? Include how much you have. So my personal caffeine strategy, I've kind of toyed with this. So I have tried to avoid it until, say, night 2, or 24, leave it for 24 hours. But often what it is, it's actually quite simple. So I've had it from the get-go, from hour 4, and just had 100 milligram every 4 hours, and then that's it for the whole entirety of an event. But I think there are benefits in holding off, more so mental, almost like a placebo effect as well. If you wait until night 2 or 24 hours, and you say to yourself, oh, I'm going to have a coffee, or I'm going to have some caffeine, it's coming, like this moment's coming, so you've got something to look forward to. I think that's a good strategy. And then from that moment on, I personally just take it every 4 hours, and that's it.
Well, obviously Dad's probably a little bit more experienced in the caffeine, because me as a kid, I'm not too much paying attention to the milligrams, but one thing I do know is that when you're on it, don't get off it.
Yeah.
Because it's like right. That you're on a high. And although you might not be feeling it and you might be low, when you drop off it, you're going to get lower.
Yeah. Well, I often find you don't drink coffee. You don't do any of those things.
Oh, now I do. We just got a coffee machine.
Yeah, we just got a coffee machine. But you might, so with you, it's more, during an event, if I see that you're a bit flat or something like that, I might just give you a caffeinated tailwind instead, just to kind of pick you up. Because I don't think at your age that you should be having a ton of caffeine.
Yeah, well, even for me, I actually, at the first sign, it's usually at night, at the first sign of me starting to look like I'm a little bit tired is probably when I take it.
Yeah.
And that's
yeah. And I mean, when the sun comes up, we pretty much stop, and because you get the energy from the sun.
Yeah, it's almost balancing the energy, and so obviously when the sun comes up, your energy's picked up, so maybe you can drop off, and you won't have as bad effects as what you would drop.
But we're not talking like the milligram amounts that we're talking about is.
I know those.
Yeah, which is like 100 milligram, which is like a weak cup of coffee, essentially.
Yeah.
So, but that's pretty much the strategy that we use.
The next question was wondering if you use supplements / vitamins, and if so, what supplements?
Okay, so
we both.
We both take supplements.
Yep.
My theory on supplements when it comes to running and training is if you're doing a heavy load, whether it be running or strength training, it's important to backfill the hole that you've just dug behind you. Often what happens is that you can go for a month or two without supplements. And I'm talking supplements in terms of magnesium, fish oil. We quite like garlic and horseradish tablets just to keep ourselves... vitamin C just for our immunity and things like that. I take something called an SPM, which is it's a derivative of fish oil that helps with anti-inflammatory stuff.
Well, that's just for your issue with your plantar.
Yeah. So, but more, so it's more of an anti-inflammatory thing that I take, but they're all pretty much natural things, and protein as well.
Yeah.
But so when you're got this massive hole behind you, you want to backfill it with some supplements, because you're extracting. It's like, I look at it like this: when I garden every year and I put my spring crop in, I don't just dig up the exact same soil and put seeds in, because they'll grow, but they won't grow very far. But what I do, I make sure that I put my composted soil in there. I make sure I put some chook poo in there. I make sure, and I put horse poo in there. And so I enrich the soil so that when I put the seed in there, it grows, and I get a real bumper crop. Essentially, that's exactly what you're doing with supplements. You make sure that you're backfilling, that you're not trying to grow seeds in dead soil.
I actually look at it also as a chasing the edge. So these supplements is, I believe that on our percentage list, we have it fairly low on as a percentage. And I think there are so many other options you can do for recovery to boost it. But obviously, we take supplements because we're chasing that edge in terms of recovery. But granted, I probably could improve my sleep a little bit more. But I want to emphasize one thing, and is make sure that it's safe for sport, the supplements that you're taking. So usually we'll have an Informed Sport logo on the back of a container, and just telling you that it's been tested, the batch has been tested, and no illegal or drugs or substances are in there.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
yeah. All right, so I'll move on. I've had, what does your ideal race preparation look like? What do you do in the week, 2 weeks leading into an event to ensure you nail the taper? So we've obviously done a taper episode recently, so obviously you'll get a lot more information out of that, but we'll just sort of
sum it up.
Yeah, we'll sum it up. I'd refer back to that taper episode. There's a lot of good stuff in there, but to pretty much sum it up,
that's called. How are we forgetting the episode about? It's turn up ready. Turn up ready.
That's right.
We got there. Sorry.
We got there. Turn up ready.
I swear we know our episode names. All right.
Yes.
Turn up ready.
So to pretty much nail taper, there's a few things. If you go to that episode, you'll definitely nail your taper. But I often use the approach to back off from the actual running itself. So I'll go, say I peak at 100%. This is in terms of we're talking ultra running distances, which what we predominantly do.
And in our episode, we dive into a little bit more of the 5K.
Yeah, that's right. So you go from 100% to load to 75%. 3 weeks out to 50%, 2 weeks out to 25% during the race week. Focus on all your nutrition. Carb loading is really important. 3 to 4 days out. Sleep and to stay relaxed. I think that
that fairly sums it up. But I just want to quickly add on to that is do it 100%. And I said this in the other week, but it's when I find I'm often doing it to 99%, and that 1% I'm leaving out could potentially ruin my race and my performance that I want to get out of it. So I've done all the hard work, and now I drop the ball right before the start line.
Yeah, it's important not to drop that ball.
Yeah.
All right. So what did you have next? Oh, actually, I'll grab this next one.
Yeah.
So, what are some of your suggestions for getting out of a mental low throughout a backyard ultra? So, I guess for me, a big one is to, like you said, Ollie, smile, understand that you chose this. I can't emphasize that enough, that when you're really, really struggling, just say to yourself, you chose this. The hurting part of this is what you're actually looking forward to. You don't realize it, but subconsciously, that's why you're there, because you're there to test yourself, to see how far you can go. It's like, I chose this. I really wanted to do this. And it's more so for when you're finished, you feel amazing. Yeah. But I guess in the moment, that's one thing. Say to yourself, I chose this. But also, make sure you got a really good why. That's probably, I mean, we've spoken about it.
Can you elaborate on the why?
Yeah, so we've spoken about it during our Backyard Ultra episode, but having a really good reason why, often, and everyone's different. Your why could be so that, people at work or your family members give you a pat on the back and go, good on you. You really inspired me. Or your why could be, for me, a lot of it's, setting an example for my kids that you guys can do what I do, and you'll be achieving more than what I ever dreamed of achieving. But I need to show you where the edge of that cliff is, so that you then can get to there, and then you can go beyond. Yeah. So I think that's my why, and then that's what I use. And if you've got a really strong why, that those dark moments, they're not as dark.
I might give a little bit more of a practical example of what you can do, because sometimes in that hard moment, that why and I chose to do this sometimes just isn't enough. But obviously it can be for some people. But I think use the people around you, especially in the Backyard Ultra. Often 10 times out of 10, we'll be talking to each other in the Backyard Ultra loop, and it's like, at the end of the loop, it's like, where did all that time go? It actually really distracts you from the pains and little niggles that you're feeling. And I just think that you could create new friendships as well. Like for me, it's funny at GB because I always talk to people. Probably people can't shut me up, but I found like two runners, and I just started chatting to them, and I'm like, oh yeah, what do you do? They like run the marathons. Every single time I saw them, I'm like, oh, here's the marathon boys. And it just distracts you from that pain. So something that I'd really suggest is talk to other people, and it can be hard, but remember, everyone's there, everyone's hurting, everyone's doing the same thing. So there's a lot of things to talk about that you can both relate to.
Yeah, just to add on to that little bit where you said about meeting people, and you do create friendships. I did a event called Unbreakable, where it's the version of the Barkley Marathon's version in Australia, and I met 3 guys, Tom Dade, Ben Nichols and Chris Norris at that event. And we have been best mates since that event, because we went out there and we suffered together. And I remember
shared.
And when it got hard out on that event, because I tell you now, it got super hard in parts of that. And I remember there was a point where I was running, and I just didn't want to leave them. So that's what got me through. I just met these guys, and they're just in front of me, and they're 10, 20 meters in front of me, and we were kind of working as a team that whole event. And I was just running behind them, and I don't want to leave these guys. So maybe setting yourself that as a goal, if you've met someone and you've been running with them and having a really good conversation, just say to yourself, well, I just want to hang out with this guy and see how far I can go. And even because you've created this really cool relationship with this person, you want to maybe help them see how far they can go, even when you're flat. Because what will end up happening is that if you're flat and you're struggling, they'll pick you up. and then you might be able to return the favor because you don't always stay flat.
Yeah. My next question was, and I have it labeled as a spag bowl question. I'll give a little bit of background information on this. But so this person, obviously, they had spag bowl the night before a run, and the next morning they felt really good, and they were wondering why this was. And my answer to this is probably could be placebo, and that.
But what's it more than likely to be?
It's probably, if I'm talking scientific terms, it's more the carbs and the proteins, and that's a really good meal actually to have for your body to recover and hit that next session with full glycogen stores.
Yep.
And yeah, I think this just sort of sums it up a little bit.
Yep. What else do we have?
Scrolling on our laptops.
What else? Yeah, so we had a few.
Hydration tips was next. Do you want to go through that?
Oh, you go there.
Okay. So usually.
So this person had a few questions. So if you want to.
So and there was a little bit of a worry of and I often see on social media about vests as a social norm. You don't really wear vests on short runs, or even just having a flask on short runs. And this person is just getting into it again, getting into running again, running 5Ks, and is a little bit worried about or thinking it might be a bit overload with having a vest on. But what I say is that, one, no one knows how far you're running. You could just put a vest on and
you could be flexing, running around with a vest. You're running 3Ks and go, hey, look at me, I'm running 40Ks today.
And two, no one cares. Everyone's worrying about themselves and what they're doing. And if it helps you, and if you feel that you need the water, and that's perfectly fine to have a vest and a flask. I'll always carry a flask out there because there's one thing, you do not want to get dehydrated on a run. But in saying that, if you really don't want to take a flask out of the vest, make sure you're hydrating throughout the day, and even just have a glass of water right before the run, and that really helps with not getting dehydrated.
That's a really good bit of advice there.
Yeah.
So I guess, was that all that?
No, there was one more.
Oh, okay,
It's hard because I'm reading my notes and you're reading off of the actual thing. Well, the last question this person asked was about stretching, and I think you want to cover that a little bit.
In regards to what was the question?
Just tips on what basic tips on
so
exercises.
for stretching, I found I've experimented with stretching a lot, and I remember years ago, and I wasn't just starting out, so I was running probably 30-40 Ks a week, but I was stretching every single day, and I was stretching on my smoke-go break at work for like 20 minutes. And then after work, I would go for a run. And what I was finding, I was getting a lot of soft tissue injuries. I don't know if it was related, but I feel like it was. They were all static stretches at the time. So I hadn't warmed up or anything like that. I was actually just at work. So I stopped doing that. And I've found that for me, it was a massive benefit. So now what I do is I will only stretch after a run. So I'll obviously warm up for a run, and then I'll do my run or whatever it is, and then after it I'll actually stretch once the body and all the muscles are kind of warmed up, and it actually feels good. I actually quite like it. I like to implement, instead of stretching, I'd prefer to roll on a spiky ball where I might have issues like my hips tighten up occasionally, so hip stretches are pretty tricky, so I'd rather just get in there, get the knots out, or I'll use my massage gun. So I use those recovery techniques over stretching for recovery.
We don't know, I actually don't even know the exact name of these exercises, but for quad specifically, just, I don't know, put your leg up to the back of your butt and just stretch out the quad.
Yeah.
We often,
warmed up. I think it's important that you do it when you're warmed up. I personally don't believe and from the insights that I've had and the coaches that I've spoken to and the runners that I've spoken to, I very rarely do I see anyone stretching without being warmed up.
Yeah, it's very dangerous when you're cold. You can really cause some damage. But I maybe do a quick routine into what we do after our runs. So we'll do a hip flexor stretch. How do you do it? Stand in a triangle shape in a way and just move side to side so that stretches.
So if you look up these exercises, if you look up hip flexor stretch for runners, quad stretch for runners,
they'll be very basic.
They're very basic, and for me, it'd be lucky to be 5 minutes after a run, and I just quickly get it out of the way, and that's it. And I mean, that's one of the things that you can do. But often people go and do yoga and Pilates and things like that that strengthen and stretch both at the same time.
Yep. Okay.
All right. So
I think this question specifically for you. And
yeah.
You. Yeah.
Do you want to ask or do you want me to ask it? Because this is our second last question,
Oh,
and then we'll get to the shirt winning question.
I feel really bad because all these questions are great, but it was the hat.
Yeah, I know. I wish we could give away a t-shirt to every single person that sent in one.
Maybe you ask yourself the question.
Okay, so this person had also done the Down Under event that I had done, and they had pretty trashed feet. So they asked, how do you manage your feet during a race, especially when you are constantly getting your feet wet?
Yeah.
So for me, a big one with feet, and I've seen some people with some mangled feet. I know people that get trench foot and all those kinds of things.
Not nice.
I don't know whether it's a different thing for everyone.
Yeah,
for me, I think I'm pretty lucky when it comes to my feet. Although, I'll lose at an event like Down Under this year, I lost every single toenail.
You don't want to see his toes now. There's no
so I don't have any nails. So they're growing back. But I wish I didn't have any toenails, so then I had none to lose.
Fair enough.
But what tends to happen is that your feet are bashing up into the back of that shoe. So two things that I do before a run to make sure I look after my feet is I tape every single toe. So there's a tape called flexible tape. Yep. So I'll tape up and over and up and around the toe. So I'll tape every single toe, and then I'll put like a Body Glide or a squirrel's nut butter over the top of that just to look after them, and then I'll wear toe socks. So I think, Ninja toe socks are fantastic for me. I use them.
We have more Ninja toe socks than what we do normal socks.
We do.
I'm like, where are all these normal socks? But
I know, it's crazy. But yeah, and then I'll also have a shoe with a bigger toe box. Like I tend to wear like a topo or just a wide shoe in general. And I try and make sure that the top of the shoe has almost like it's almost just sturdier. So if I do kick something, it doesn't hurt as much.
Yeah.
Because I know
protection.
Protection. And I know what this person's experiencing because it hurts when you bash your toes for such a long period of time. And then you step in some water. It feels like you've stepped in acid. It really, really hurts. But they're probably my biggest tips to look after your feet. Tape every single toe. Wear toe socks and have a shoe with a slightly bigger toe box
and Body Glide.
And Body Glide on those things.
I wanted to add on to
and
this.
Also, sorry. And also, look into no. I'm trying to find the right word. So as soon as an issue comes up, address it straight away.
Okay.
So a blister, a hot spot, or anything like that, address it. Don't leave it. I left it at Down Under and below both my ankles. Although this ain't toe related. Below both my ankles, I ended up getting a really bad chafing and it was bleeding and it wasn't pretty because I refused to change my socks and things like that because they're also options as well. So when you're coming into an aid station, just change your socks with dry socks and just look after your feet because you're on them the whole time and spending 5 or 10 minutes here and there to change your socks or anything like that.
It's crucial.
It's crucial, yeah.
I have something to add onto this, even though it's more directed for you. But one thing you didn't mention, and I never do it, and this one race I copped it. Cut your toenails before you
that's
run.
a big one.
Right?
That's a given almost.
So on Maroondah Dam, a 50k I did earlier on this year, there's a huge hill that's maybe 10 kilometers, 1,000 meters gain in it. And that's just one section. And on the return way, I was bombing down this hill and I could just feel my toenails. And they've fallen off. I don't want to say fallen off because they're not like yours. They're a little bit
chipped off.
Chipped off. There you go. Chipped off. And I could just feel it bashing. And I'm like, what's wrong with my toes? But it was because I hadn't
cut your toenails.
clipped them before. So that's really
Yeah,
good tip.
So that's a really good one. There's gonna be a couple episodes coming up where we address all the things that go wrong,
Yep.
and foot care is gonna be definitely one of
stay
the
tuned.
topics.
Stay
Stay tuned for that one coming up. So, drum roll for the one question that we pulled out of the hat, and it was the winner of the shirt. So, do you want to ask it, or do you want me to ask
No,
it?
actually, I don't have the question on my laptop.
Oh, don't you? Well, I've got
I just the name.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. So what does running do for your relationship with each other? And what do you think life would be like if the two of you didn't share love for the same activity? It's a pretty deep question.
It's super deep. Firstly, none of this would be here. We'd probably still be playing to 12 o'clock at night, FIFA and Call of Duty.
There was nothing wrong with
No, there's nothing
Call of
wrong with
Duty.
it. But like, that's the connection that we had. And
Yeah.
on New Year's Eve, we were up at 12 o'clock at night playing Call of Duty. But we loved that we had that shared connection. And
Yeah.
I guess the shared connection we have for things really builds us, our connection together, because whether that be FIFA or Call of Duty or running, I think
Yeah.
that it really, and it helps with running. I get so many different ideas and concepts, and I might look like a little bit of a weirdo if I go spewing all these out to random people. And I think having you there really supports me, and where we can just bounce off of each other.
Yeah.
And especially, like, I remember just looking at you as my dad, right? And now I would consider you as like my best mate.
Oh,
in a
that's
way.
really
So if
nice.
I
Yeah, tear up across from you here.
and so if I had if I had any questions, I think I never hesitate to ask you.
Yeah. I think running for us, what it does for us is that it brings us together. And it brings us together in this really beautiful space where we'll go for a run. And I often say this to people, the therapeutic effects of running are amazing. But then when we get to do it together, it's even
Special.
It's even more special, because if you've got something on your mind, when you're in that kind of heightened state that running gives you, that endorphins and all that kind of stuff, you can talk about whatever it may be. How often, and it's not just with you, I with my wife, with my daughter Misha, well, we tend to, when we go for a run, we have these deep conversations about life and other things. So it's not just the running side of it, it's just life as well. And I think it's where you're not doing anything else but running, but you've got all this time. You're actually, during these runs, you're creating a space and an environment to spend time together.
Another thing from that I want to mention is how you are constantly engraving in my brain that it's actually okay to not run. And it's not, because I'll often come back to you and complain, and I hate running, and because running's a love-hate relationship. But running isn't what is our relationship. It's almost a stepping stone that supports who we are and what we do, and how another voice crack and what we do, and how we talk to each other, and just everything. But what you often say is that it's okay to quit, and you don't need to, not that it's okay to quit, but it's okay, you don't have to run.
Yeah.
Right? And what that'll often leave me, like a question that'll leave me with is, like, I actually want to do this. Like in a way, I love running. I do it, and I love it.
You choose to do it.
I choose to do it, and everything's a choice.
Yeah, that's right. That's 100% right. And I think so. Going on from that question, what would life look like without the love for that same activity? And I think it would look the same. Because
we'd still have the same ups and downs.
Yeah, that's right. And we would find something else that we would like to do together.
This could be a football podcast or a soccer podcast.
Or it could just, you know what? It doesn't even have to be a podcast. It doesn't have to be any other things. It could be just a father watching his son play basketball.
Yeah.
So that's a beautiful relationship.
That's just as special as the relationship that we have.
Yeah, that's right. I do like that with running. It gives us that space to bond
Grow.
and grow and talk about things and life and all that kind of stuff. So that was a really cool question. So we'll reach back out to
They
that
were
person.
all the questions. I
They were all
will love it.
Yeah, so that
We
was the
always-
question. All the questions that we chose from, and that was the one that got pulled out of the hat and ended up winning one of these awesome shirts.
So
So
we'll contact the person and
we'll contact them and
get them a little top.
yeah, that's right.
But-
So let's bring this one across the finish line, hey?
Yep.
And
Sounds good.
let's do our Better by Next Week challenges for the week.
You go first.
Yeah, so I mentioned vagal breathing and how
Oh,
you
here we
walked
go.
in on me and Mum doing some vagal breathing.
Possessed.
Like, yeah, that's right. So I would like you to practice some vagal breathing every day for 5 minutes, right? Preferably in the morning. In the morning is probably the best time to do it because it sets your day up for less stress, less anxiety, and just before you leave that room in the morning, do 5 minutes of vagal breathing, and you'll walk out and you'll feel like you're ready to hit the day. So that's my Better by Next Week challenge for you.
So my challenge is a little bit similar to yours in terms of vagal breathing and how I've been incorporating meditation just when I wake up and at night. And I really want you to be able to experience that peacefulness that I'm experiencing. So my Better by Next Week challenge for you is for 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes at night, to put some earphones in and just meditate. Whatever way that feels comfortable for you.
Yeah. Do I have to put headphones in? Because I actually like meditating without
actually,
headphones.
I think you can adjust it. Anyone can adjust
But
it
yeah,
to their needs.
I mean, I haven't been doing. I'll be honest, I haven't been doing any meditating lately. But I'm actually looking forward to setting that time aside. And I reckon our listeners, especially people that haven't meditated before, just having a go at it.
Yeah.
I reckon they'll really enjoy it. And
They'll find something new.
yeah, and don't force it either. So if you find that you're getting a heap of
Thoughts
and stuff like that, don't force it. So, but yeah, all right, cool. And we'll get back to everyone, and hopefully everyone can get back to us and let us know how they went.
Happy running, everyone.
Yeah, happy running. And yeah, thanks again for listening to the podcast. If you haven't already, subscribe, follow, it really helps the channel and it really helps us be able to, reach a wider audience. So thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next week.
See you later.
Cool.